Ladies and gentlemen, here in Washington and around the world, in Bahrain, in Egypt, in Romania, in London, welcome to this fourth edition of our World Youth Democracy Forum. This is a very special occasion. It's a very special occasion because we have with us a multi-generational cluster of leaders in human rights, starting with the most senior on my furthest right, Saad Ibrahim, the 2006 Iona Ratью awardee. Next to him, the youngest of the three, Oleg Kozlowski, the 2010 Iona Ratью awardee, and at my immediate right, this year's awardee, Nabila Rajab from Bahrain. We're also very pleased that in the audience, in fact, we have at least a couple of students from Bahrain who are with us, who are students here at George Washington University. We want to welcome all of you who are here and around the world on behalf of the Elliot School of International Affairs and the Institute of European, Russian, and Eurasian Studies. We also want to express our sincere gratitude and many thanks to the Ratью Family Foundation and their representatives here, the president, the chairman of the board, Nicolae Ratью, and Indrei Ratью, who chairs the Center for Ratью for Democracy in Turda, Romania, and Madalina Mocan, who is assisting him with that center in Transylvania. We are also experiencing this being a very special thing because of the theme this year. The theme this year that relates to referred to by Nabeel as a tsunami that was sparked by young men in Tunisia and has taken on the entire Arab world. Rulers have fallen. A new order is emerging. Exactly what that order will be and what configuration, we do not know. It will not be a copy of either Western European or American democracy. Hope that there are some elements of Western democracy that could be inspiring to our friends in the Arab world, but they'll define their own democracy that is culturally specific and to their context and shaped by their life experiences of their long and extraordinary rich history of the Arab world, who have contributed immensely to the culture and civilization of the world in the sciences and humanities. I do not want to take any more time. I just wanted to say how we're going to do this. In general, move on to the speakers. The speakers will start with Nabeel, who will be very brief, about 10 minutes or so, then a brief response from Saad and from Oleg, brief, 2-3 minutes, and then open it up for Q&A here and around the world. We do not want you to make speeches. It will be a brief comment and a question. And I instructed very strictly Kate Svax, who is assisting me, not to give you the microphone because I do not want any speech, just brief questions and comments, because we want to hear mostly from our very distinguished and special guests we have here with us. This is truly a historic moment. Never, I don't think before, have the three of you been together in America or at any other meeting. So let's take advantage of this very unique and special occasion, a very unique and special year for the Arab world and for the entire world, because what the Arab young people are doing are not going to be inspiring just to them, but to the rest of the world. In fact, as we speak, the American Secretary of State is visiting Burma. Who would have thought that Burma may free a human rights activist? Well, she was just freed a little while ago. I think the Arab Revolution is inspiring us, is inspiring the rest of the world, and look forward very much to hearing what you have to say and to welcome you in our midst, and look forward to many years together of good health and good collaboration, and may freedom and democracy prevail in the Arab world and the entire world. Nabeel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And as you stated that I'm not going to take long, and I would prefer having question and answer. And thank you all for coming. I will start where from my colleagues has ended. I was in Malaysia a few weeks ago, and I was meeting a group of students, Bahraini students, talking to them about the Arab Spring. When a Burmese woman, she saw us and she knows I'm an activist, and she came and told me, can I speak for your people for 1 minute only? I said, okay, go ahead. And she was talking to the group of Bahrainis that we are all inspired by your revolution in the Arab region. Please don't stop, because even our army that is ruling the country are worried about the Arab Spring and the impact of the Arab Spring in Burma. So we are all inspired by you. And now you see, this is what I'm started to say, because that shows the waves that started in last year. The wave of changes started from Tunisia by the Al-Bouazizi, the street vendor, that I think it's still in the way of changes. It has changed a couple of countries in Egypt and Tunisia, and it's in a way to change in Yemen, in Bahrain, in Syria, and people have paid high price in this wave of change. A lot of life have been gone fighting for democracy and struggling for social justice. But I'm always optimistic by thinking that in 10 years' time from today, the whole region is going to change. The whole region is going to change. And there are smart government who are going to cope with the new situation of changes, with the new wave of changes, by reforming themselves. But there are other government who will set an obstacle to face these changes, and those government will be finally changed by their own people. And always we hope that we see changes without violence, without blood, without killing, but always the government, the rulers, the repressive regime who pushed people for violence. As I enter here, and I've seen a couple of brochures were kept in the paper, and some of them, I think they were brought by the embassy of Bahrain in Washington to spoil my reputation and spoil the work that we do as a human rights movement. That shows me, that I consider that as an indication that our work is active and our work is successful, that our government do follow us wherever we go. I was told by those people who were awarded me yesterday, and the Ratyu family, that they have received tons of emails by unknown people, which I believe it's organized one by the government to mislead the public opinion about my role and my work. And this shows you how the mentality of those governments in the region, instead of working with the human rights defenders, instead of working with the newly developing youth generation that's fighting for democracy, they are instead they're fighting it. And anyway, I'm not going to speak. I mean, I'm a human rights activist, been working for the past almost 20 years, heading Bahrain Center for Human Rights, Gulf Center for Human Rights, working with the human rights, headed a few international fact-finding missions in several countries, and I'm an active, been banned from traveling several times, just was allowed to leave the country a couple of months ago. I am a supporter, known and open supporter for the protests in Bahrain, for the demonstration in Bahrain and in the Arab world. I am one of the guys who encourage youth people to fight for democracy and social justice and have an active role in the society. I believe that youth are the future of tomorrow, and it's not anymore societies that led by elite, but what we have seen in the Arab uprising, that we've been led by the youth people. It's totally different than we have seen in all the revolution in Eastern Europe and in many countries. It's not anymore a revolution that is being led by big people and elite, but no, it is being led by youth people. So you are a future. I'm someone who believes that connection need to be made by the youth movement in the United States and around the world and Arab region to exchange information, to exchange idea, to exchange method of struggle for justice and equality. I'm happy to see the impact of the Arab Spring even here in Washington and in several states, where I see in some areas those people putting tent and protesting. I don't know how much that is in compliance with this, but it is, I think, I could see the waves of the Arab Spring moving from country to country. Thank you, but I'll wait for your question.
You just mentioned that in Malaysia, this wave of Arab Spring reached citizens, and the same to some extent happened in the United States. And I might say that in Russia, however remote and somewhat isolated it is, even there we see this influence of the Arab Spring. This spring in Moscow, at many protests, you could hear chants, Mubarak, Gaddafi, Putin. I was accused by Russian propaganda of preparing a revolution like in Libya. So I think both citizens and the government realize that what's going on in the Middle East has huge global implications, not just for the Arab world, but for the whole world and for all authoritarian countries in particular. A year ago, Dr. Ibrahim and I were here in DC, and we were discussing the future of our countries. And I think neither me nor Dr. Ibrahim could expect that such dramatic change would take place in Egypt in such a short time. And I don't know what new changes we're going to see in a year from now. I think what's happening now is really almost unprecedented. You can only compare it actually to the collapse of communism 20 years ago, and it's really exciting and really dramatic what's going on.
I think we share this excitement with all of you, and glad to have you with us. There are a lot of young people around the world wishing to ask questions. Let's take 3 questions. Mention your questions, and we'll answer them, then we'll go to the field.
I'm Samira Al-Bitar, and I just wanted to point out that from Bahrain, and I wanted to point out that the papers that were put were actually from me. They're just information that I found on the internet that I thought I should share with everyone else. So my question is, I have traveled miles away from my family and my friends to come and to get the best possible training here at GW to represent Bahrain at one competition every summer. And the only chance I have to see where I stand among my competitors. On April 18th, Mr. Rajab supported the petition of suspending all Bahraini sports federation from international and regional participation. And if anyone wants to see the petition.
Excuse me, we don't want any speeches. Just tell us what's your question,
Okay.
brief, please.
My question is, how could you support such a bold argument when you are only representing a handful of athletes, where many of us, including myself, are being punished for the actions of others? Thank you.
Let's take all 3 questions. 2 more.
Hi, my name is Zain from Bahrain, and we saw that in the 10th report in the Department of State, Bahrain was elevated from Tier 2 watch list to Tier 2. So I was wondering, and because of the government's role in this and in the improvement, so I was wondering, Mr. Rajab, what's your role in that, and can you elaborate on the free visa problem in Bahrain, please? Thank you.
My name is Faisal. I'm from Bahrain as well. Mr. Nabeel, since you are a human rights activist and you are one of the founders of the Gulf Center for Human Rights, you haven't mentioned the pro-democracy protest in Iran. Those oppressed people are being suppressed for expressing their desire of freedom against this dictatorship regime in Iran. So what is your take on the pro-democracy in Iran? Thank you.
The Gulf Center for Human Rights covers the Gulf countries, including Yemen,